Hi everyone, I just wanted to jump into this quick live. I know I haven't done a live for a very long time, but there was something that was going on in my head while I was working out at the gym. And then I thought, no, if I don't get this out of my system right now, then maybe I'll forget or it's going to go away. So I thought I just wanted to jump into a quick live to tell you something very important. And you all know that ATEX is happening on the 1st of October, but that's not what I'm going to talk about in this live. Okay. So, when I was studying medicine, I was also concurrently writing. So there used to be this newspaper called Assam Tribune, and there was another newspaper called Sentinel. And I was invited to write there because I was a part of a writing club, and I would write articles. I would mostly write fiction as well because I was a lover of fiction. I used to read a lot of Milan Kundera at that point of time, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Isabel Allende. I was a fan of magic realism, and I would write a lot of stories that are mostly magic realist in nature, right? For example, normal stories where magic just appears out of the blue. And I was doing well as a writer, at that point of time, per article or per piece, I would get paid around 250 rupees, or sometimes if it's a good newspaper or a good magazine, I would get around 500 rupees. And by the time I reached my fourth year in med school, in medical college, I was not able to continue with my classes properly because I was also going through depression, which means that I had extreme form of OCD and fear and phobia, because of which I would just not be able to go to the institute. The sight of hospital would scare me. Walking on the corridors would make me feel as if people are judging me, they're talking about me, I'm having delusions of reference, people are talking about me and looking at me. I would have these perceptions, errors of perceptions, wherein I would think that, oh, people don't like me, people are talking about me, and I'm not a regular student because they know that I have been to the psychiatry ward, I have been admitted to the psychiatry ward, I have they regularly see me going and meeting the psychiatrist at the hospital itself and taking medications. So I mean, it was like a known case of exclusion. On top of that, what happened is, one day my pediatrics officer walked in, and he came to the class and he made me stand up and he asked me a question. And it was a very basic question, something to do with weight of a newborn child. And I could not answer that question. I didn't have the information. My brain was not sharp enough, focused enough to remember what I had studied, because I would mostly be in my imaginary world, and I just could not answer. And that is when he told me, he made me stand up in front of the whole class, and he said that you will never do anything in life. If you think that by writing you would be able to make life, you would be able to even provide for yourself, let alone your mom and dad, it's not going to happen, right? If you do not have if you go ahead and live your life by yourself and you do not live in your mom and dad's house, then your life is going to be like, don't expect a good life out of it. If you think like that, if you think that writing is going to fetch you money, so you better study. I don't care if you have depression, and that truly broke me because I was very young at that point of time. I should have been around 20 and in my fourth year, or 21 maybe. And I went back home with a lot of grief. I remember it was raining. I drove my scooty and I, went home, and I hugged my mom and I cried a lot, and I said that, I don't know what to do. I have no idea how to study, how to move forward, how to work with life, because I love writing, and I know I'm not made for this kind of work. I'm not made for hardcore medicine. I wish I had something else that I could do. I wish I could truly believe that I can write and I can have a livelihood, because I did not aim for money at that point of time. It was about, okay, can I make livelihood just by doing this that I love? And I was made to feel wrong about it. And then years later, many years later, when I was called for my first TEDx, my first TEDx was in Hamirpur. I had delivered 3 TEDx talks so far. The first was in NIT Hamirpur. And I went there and I talked about how we are never limited by one single identity, that just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean that I cannot be a healer. Just because I'm a healer doesn't mean that I cannot be a writer. Just because I'm a writer doesn't mean that I cannot be a dancer. And that TEDx talk was inspired by one of my most favorite writers called Chimamanda Adichie. So if you haven't read Chimamanda Adichie, go and read her. She's an African writer, and she has a talk, a TED talk called The Danger of a Single Story. So check out that talk. My talk was inspired by her talk, that how to not believe in a single identity, that we always have more than one identity, right? And when that talk got published, I made it a point to go back to Guwahati Medical College, which was my college. So I went to my med school and I hunted down the professor, and I showed him the talk, and I said that, sir, you were wrong. I did that. I mean, I was immature to do that because I was, I think, around 25 or 26, something like that. And I did that, and I really felt good. But I wanted to highlight this thing to you all, that today, the reason that I'm able to be so successful, the reason that I'm making so much amount of money is because of exactly that I was made to feel wrong for. I know I write well. I know that my written work has got me so many people, so many clients. People inbox me, people DM me and tell me that just by reading the newsletters that I write, they are able to go through catharsis, they are able to move into healing, right? It's because of the spoken word that I put out on paper. It's because of the stories that I weave in. It's because of the interconnections that I make in my stories. People are able to resonate, feel, and heal themselves, right? You all must be knowing that I have a newsletter, an email coaching newsletter on Substack. It's called drgauravdeka.substack.com. So if you go to drgauravdeka.substack.com, you will be able to subscribe to my written email coaching. And so many people respond to that when I send them this newsletter. Even on Instagram, when I write things, when I write copy, I've never done copywriting, I've never learned copywriting from anyone. People go and learn copywriting. I've never learned copywriting, but my copies sell the most because, when I write, there are so many shares, there are so many DMs, and people tell me that, oh, I resonate with what you have written, and this is the reason we want to come and join ATEPs, we want to come and join your program, because they are able to resonate with the written word. Similarly, when I do my podcast, so many people write back to me about my podcast that they have been positively impacted by it. Before I go ahead and speak my podcast, I write down, I think, I participate in critical thinking. I participate in the kind of thinking which makes my brain wonder about interconnected stories by which I can provide inspiration, provide motivation, provide coaching to all of you. And that is because I never ever believed, even when that incident happened, even when, I was shamed for being a doctor and then telling that, writing things that they thought were shameful, that they embarrassed me. I did not believe in that. I kept working on my craft. I kept believing that I am a good writer. I kept believing that stories can take you to a different place. I kept believing that my healing can happen. The more I write, the more I express myself, the more I do what I love, right? So I want to also tell you this, that there will be various things which you may think is your wrongness, or which the world might tell you that this is never going to make you successful. This is never going to fetch you money. This is never going to bring a sustainable business. And I do not want you to ever, ever believe in them. And God forbid this happening to a 19-year-old, 18-year-old or a 20-year-old who is just forming and molding their brain, just entering the world, and a statement like that coming from an authority figure can break and collapse the entire dream. And I know that many people could be, in my audience could be, in the age group of 30 to 40 to 50, at any age group. Do not ever believe that whatever you like to do, if someone calls it wrong, if someone does not believe in it, if someone is not able to, step into it and see the experience that, oh, this is something that can bring lightness, that can bring joy, that can bring curiosity, that can bring abundance, that can bring money. If someone is unable to believe in that, you do not need that. You have to keep believing that everything that I have been wronged is what exactly my superpower is. This is the message that I wanted to convey to you through this story, that everything that you may have made wrong about yourself because you believed in other people in the world is exactly what your superpower is. For example, I chose to tell stories, and that is what my superpower was. And I found out many years later because I did not give it up. Okay? Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. See you soon.